evening, everyone. I hope everyone is having an absolutely wonderful, wonderful beginning to their week. And howdy, of course, to David and Kukla. Thank you so much for always being here and always helping out. It is always greatly, greatly appreciated. And David, yeah, I'm still waiting for my apple, man. I'm still waiting for my apple. Oh, Donna, thank you so much for tuning in. And Mile High Trish, I think it is going to be a fun hour. I think it is going to be a fun hour that we have got planned for this evening. Probably a little bit different, a little bit of a field trip that maybe is a bit unexpected, but we're going to go through the news and then we're going to jump in to a field trip. So, I know no one got a heads up or a warning that they were going to need their permission slips signed by today, but make certain that if you have not gotten your permission slip signed, that you go ahead and call the parents, call whoever's in charge, because we're going off campus today. We're going to head over and we're going to check out Decentraland, a metaverse, essentially the first blockchain metaverse that ever existed was Decentraland. And so we're going to go over there and we're just going to check it out and walk around. So we're not really going to do an incredibly deep dive into what the game has to provide, but we're going to go and actually show everyone what a metaverse looks like and what Decentraland is building. And so, of course, Kukla, thank you so much. The content in this podcast is for general and educational purposes and entertainment purposes and is not intended to provide professional, financial, or legal advice. Please consider everything discussed crazy Kryptonauts opinion only. Now, absolutely. Thank you, Kukla, for putting that in. I hate having to go through and say it, but it's a very important part of each stream. So thank you so much, Kukla. And hello, Overcoming Victory, saying, hey, all just dropped and can't stay. Oh, Overcoming Victory, that's going to be a few points off, but I understand. And so hopefully you can tune back in for the recording or jump in with us soon. Oh, Bear, I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you so much. I've got a pack, David says, I've got a pack of permission slips signed in the back of the room for a small price of 10 Bitcoin each. 10 Bitcoin each. Well, that's actually funny, David, because that goes directly into one of the different news stories that we're going to go through at the beginning, because one, Robert Kiyosaki made a pretty bold proclamation about what he believes every single person should at the minimum own. And I'm very excited to get to show y'all that article and see what y'all are thinking about it, because Robert Kiyosaki is typically a precious metals only type person. That's all he cares about. But there's a little article out there that's making quite the rounds today from Robert Kiyosaki, where he talks about something else that everyone needs to own. Everyone that's planning for the future, he's looking out for them. And so we're going to jump into that article also before we do go adventuring in the metaverse. Oh, HK, how is it going? Thank you so much for tuning in, HK. And oh, Rocker Mom, good afternoon, good evening. I'm not certain. I guess it all depends on where you're at. But thank you so much for jumping in. And HKY, yes, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Mr. Robert Kiyosaki himself made quite the comment today. Well, he made it yesterday, but you know how the news goes. We get it the day after. And so have got some interesting articles on that one. I was quite surprised to hear about the amount of Bitcoin he says that everybody needs to own. I am. I was quite surprised. I'll be interested to see what everyone thinks about the amount of Bitcoin that everyone is supposed to own, according to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Mile High Trish, is there a place to see the community wallet online? And so right now, the community wallet only has XRP and XLM in it. And so there is going to be an easy way to see it. And actually, we are going to be adding to the community wallet tonight. And so we'll be talking a little bit more about how we're going to make it something where everyone can just check. How are things doing? How are things looking? And in the very, very near future, people will be able to, without even tuning into the show, I mean, at 3 a.m., you'll be able to go check up on the community wallet. And so, Mile High Trish, very, very soon, but we right now are going to be making an addition to our community portfolio at the end of this stream. And of course, because I am talking about Decentraland and Mana, the cryptocurrency of the Decentraland Metaverse, it was one of the different cryptos that was mentioned during our community building stream. And so when we were talking about what type of cryptocurrencies would people be interested in seeing, Mana was mentioned. And so we are going to be making a small purchase of Mana to add to the community portfolio at the end of the stream today. And so we're slowly building it. We're slowly building it. All right, though. Mile High, sounds great. I'm going to run my own play wallet at the same time. Oh, that's awesome, Trish. That is awesome. And so we will end up with multiple different play wallets, and we'll make certain that they're all segregated as we do create each one. But it really is. Maybe one of the best tools to really go through and try to learn about cryptocurrency is almost to play with either funny money, so fake money, or to play with an amount of dollars that you're just not worried about, because that's where you learn the most. That is absolutely where you learn the most. And so, Jeremy says, need a crazy kryptonite DAO. And so a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. And so I imagine, Jeremy, that's probably one that I need to do a little bit more explanation in terms of the definition. But I do think that one of the ideas Jeremy had after the last stream was an amazing one, and that I should launch a cryptocurrency live on stream. And so do look forward to that one. We are going to plan actually launching a cryptocurrency live and just letting y'all see what actually is required to put a cryptocurrency out there into the world that people can purchase, buy, sell, hold, trade, whatever. I do think that's something that we're going to do in the very near future, where we just put one out there. I mean, maybe it's Valentino token. I know that Kukla will be the biggest holder because Kukla is a big Tino fan. And so maybe that's what we name it. Maybe we launch a cryptocurrency named Valentino live so that everyone can kind of see how that works. Probably that I got from Coinbase is doing well. I'm glad to hear that, Greta May. I'm glad to hear that. I do look forward to a Coinbase full tutorial this week. And so that is one of the different lessons that will be coming out throughout the week. And so I'm quite excited for that one, because I know that we have the full stream out there. Everybody can go through, but I think what's best is to have it in a concentrated form where someone is very easily capable of going back and forth, rewatching, and things of that nature. Oh, what's up, Grumpy? Thank you so much for tuning in. And HK, how's that crazy Cryptino? Well, he's busy doing his normal routine, being a bum. I even went and put a pillow over there, which maybe I shouldn't have done, but now he has become even more of the lazy watcher. He's my peanut gallery throughout the day as I work. He makes certain to keep an eye on me. Occasionally he meows at me when I think he doesn't like what I'm doing, or who knows, maybe he just wants more treats. It's probably just more treats. All right, so Nancy STL. I didn't keep my Upholder Coinbase account credentials from 2 years ago since I didn't trade on them. Am I best off just setting up a new account on Uphold and Coinbase under a different email address? Currently on a Stellar without the A now. All right, so Nancy, one thing that you're going to want to keep in mind whenever you have had an account with one of these centralized exchanges, such as Uphold or Coinbase, they are going to remember. And so this actually is where my issue with getting reapproved from Uphold occurred. It's because I had an Uphold many, many years ago. Many years ago, I had an Uphold account. And that was prior to Uphold having the same know your customer KYC requirements. So they didn't need to have as much of my personal information back then. And so what ended up occurring when I tried to make a new account was Uphold was very confused because they had my information, my credentials on file. And they were going, well, why are you trying to make a new account when you already have one? But I couldn't log into my old account because I hadn't done the most recent KYC requirements that they needed for nowadays Uphold. And so what I would say in terms of that one, Nancy, is the first thing to do is to try to get back in to your original account. If you can, do it that way. It's going to be easier. I've learned my lesson on account of Uphold. If I had attempted to go back and try to get into my old account, I would have been able to go through the normal KYC, the normal AML, and that's KYC is know your customer. AML is anti-money laundering rules that everyone has to follow for these different exchanges. I would have only had to go through the basics if I had just tried to remember the old account, but I didn't. I said, I'm going to make a new one. And that meant that I was a bit delayed on getting the account created because Uphold had to go in there and figure out who I was, what was happening, why is some guy named Zach making two different accounts. It creates a bit of a confusion on their end. And so what I would say is try to go through on Uphold or Coinbase and get into your old account and then do the updates. If that is entirely impossible and there's no way you're going to get back into them, then I would try to register for a new account, but I would expect to have to talk to customer service. Just as a heads up, I highly doubt they're going to let you get through the whole process without ending up talking to someone, writing emails, proving over and above and beyond that you are the Nancy that you say you are. And so it's not fun when you've had a few years off of them, but you could be very surprised, Nancy, if you do have any of the information or maybe that you can think through any of the information, you may be surprised how easily you can get back into, especially your Coinbase account. I've never had a problem getting back into my old Coinbase account. I've spent time away or lost the computer that originally logged in due to it falling apart or whatever occurred. And I've never had an issue getting back into my Coinbase. I did have a bit of a problem getting back into Uphold in order to make that video, which I hope everyone is appreciating the Uphold tutorial. I know so many people were stuck with their XRP on that platform. And so I really, really do hope that a lot of folks manage to get their crypto into their own wallets where they have the keys on account of it. Greta May, I will share Cat Chronicles. Grand Cat's coming for Easter. That's not going to make any of the bunnies happy. Any of the bunnies. And Kukla, thank you so much for saying that. Definitely, guys, if you do not mind, or if you do appreciate everything that I try to put into this, I would definitely appreciate that thumbs up in return. It makes a big difference. It's kind of crazy how it does. The algorithm learns things in its own way, and for some reason, it really, really loves some thumbs up, some shares, and some comments. So would definitely be appreciated. DD or or darn it, Dale. Glad to catch you live. I'm glad that you got to make it today, DD. I'm happy to have you. and Lady Patriot. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Nancy, so very helpful, Zaster. Thank you. Do you like Coinbase the most? I personally like Coinbase the most because it is the cheapest. I do not like Coinbase because of the company or because of their user interface. I like them the most because they are the best right now for a US citizen. If you are a US citizen and you want to get into crypto and you don't have a Coinbase account, you're wasting money. That does not mean that I am in any way endorsing the company, because I don't. In all honesty, I would make my purchase the same way that I normally do, and I'd get the heck out of there. And so, Nancy, the short and skinny of it is Coinbase is the service I use, but it does not mean that I actually really like Coinbase that much. It just means they happen to be the cheapest. They don't charge me extra fees. And so I utilize the service that appreciates my money the most. Coinbase appreciates my dollars the most. They give me the best rates, charge the least, and have a fairly easy to use interface. And so when you combine all of that, that makes it the go-to. Personally, I would rather use Binance or KuCoin. And so those are two exchanges that we really haven't talked about much. The reason that we haven't talked about them is because we're not allowed to use them, because the vast majority of us are US citizens. And if we're not US citizens, judging by the analytics, we are most likely either in the United States, Canada, Britain, Australia, etc. And so in all of these different countries, guess what's not allowed? Binance and KuCoin. And so personally, I have much preferred exchanges over Coinbase. I would love to be allowed back on KuCoin and Binance. Unfortunately, our government doesn't think it's safe for us to be there. And so do I have problems with that from a political standpoint? Absolutely. I believe that it is beyond ridiculous for our government to tell us what we are allowed to do with our money. If we wish to participate in a specific country, then or in a specific corporation, then I believe that is our right to do so, assuming they are not doing anything wrong, which none of these companies are doing anything inherently wrong. They just make the SEC feel uncomfortable, essentially. And so I would absolutely, KuCoin is technically my favorite exchange ever. We were kicked off of KuCoin back in 2021, I believe, as US citizens. Although I think I made it into 2022 before they actually figured it out. Binance, I was kicked out in 2019 for being a US citizen. And so both of those are two things that I remain a little bit ornery about, because that is our government making decisions about what we choose to do with our money. Mile High Trish, isn't there a Binance US? There is. There's a big difference between Binance.eu and Binance.us. And so those are two different exchanges, essentially. Binance created a separate exchange specifically for US customers, following them being removed on the main exchange from the country. It does not allow you to purchase near the same amount of cryptocurrencies. The Binance.eu website will allow you to purchase cryptocurrencies to a number of thousands of different cryptocurrencies are available on Binance.eu. On Binance.us, essentially the options are beyond small. And so that is one where it's kind of lost. It's kind of lost because you assume they'd have the same options, but they don't. Binance.us, very, very limited options. Binance.eu, all the options in the world in terms of the things that you want to buy. There's way more liquidity on Binance.eu, which means that your trades are much more quickly executed. You're executing your trades at a more even market value on Binance.eu. It's one of those things where being U.S. citizens, according to our government, it's not safe for us, but I never had any issues for years on those exchanges. And, at some point, I assume we will have an administration that is knowledgeable about the future of finance and about what cryptocurrency means. And so I deeply, deeply, deeply hope that at that point we see a major change in terms of how the SEC is going after these companies, because really all the SEC is doing is harming us as U.S. investors, because they're keeping us from being able to have a cutting edge on the competition. What they're doing is they're allowing for European investors, they're allowing for investors in Africa, investors in Asia, investors in South America to have a one-up on us. They get access to more liquidity. They get access to newer cryptos before we do. And the only reason we don't have that access is because of our own government. It is not for any other reason. There is no limitation. We had access, and then our government took it away from us. And these other countries' governments have not been doing that to them. And that in and of itself is creating essentially an unfair balance. Our government is putting us behind. And if our government in the United States continues to do that, if the governments of Western Europe continue to do that, and of course, Westernized Europe is a vague term, but to look at the countries that have had major problems with cryptocurrency, you would look at the United States, you'd look at England, you'd look at Australia, you'd look at New Zealand, you'd look at Canada. Ironically, they're all what is commonly referred to as the Western English world, the Western Europe world. And so if you consider things from that standpoint, for some reason, our governments are trying to keep us back. And it's allowing other country citizens to have a one-up on us. And so that in and of itself is a whole conversation that we could probably go into for hours and hours and hours, because what we're really doing when we do that is we're shooting our own citizens in the foot, is what our government is doing. I cannot even come close to expressing the amount of lost opportunities that we as an entire group of people have had because of the way our governments have chosen to attempt to answer the question of how does cryptocurrency work in to their central bank currencies. David Lewis says, it seems to me that our government is doing more than pave our roads. For some reason, they tend to get into a lot more than just that, David. They tend to get into a lot more than just that. And Tim Fu, we, the United States, can snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Zester, we are more than capable. More than capable. We are both are we are absolutely our greatest enemy. Tim Fu, we are our greatest enemy. We managed to somehow hold ourselves back from all the successes that really a lot of people in the country deserve. Somehow our government manages to keep us from getting there. And so Overcoming Victory says, yes, new administration with no limits for us. They're afraid of us having money. Absolutely. They're afraid of us having an understanding of how money works. They do not want the average person, the average citizen, to have an understanding of how their money operates behind the scenes. It's the same idea. It's much easier to control a poor populace than it is to control an affluent populace. It's much easier to control an unarmed populace than it is to control an armed populace. And so kind of look at it the same way. Our money is our weapon. And if we don't have our weapon, then they have disarmed us. And so I kind of look at it from that sense. When it comes down to it, I think that money while it is directly, according to the United States Supreme Court, the way we spend our money is a matter of freedom of speech. I think there's also something to be said that it's also kind of comes into the Second Amendment at the same time. Our money is a weapon. Our money is both our speech and it is also our strength. And if we choose to put our money in specific directions, we are sending a very, very clear message to the government and to the people that are in charge that we are actually the ones that make the decisions. We have a right to spend our money where we so choose, whether it's good or bad, or a good decision, a bad decision, a great decision, a horrible decision. It's our decision. In the same way that we have the right to protect ourselves. All right. AHD is trading on an exchange the same thing as selling tokens. And so that's actually a great question there, AHD. And thank you for jumping in. I would say that it really depends on how you look at it. And so from a tax standpoint, it is. You have just sold your tokens. From a taxable event standpoint, if you have traded from one cryptocurrency to another cryptocurrency, according to the IRS, you owe them something, assuming you are in the profit. If you've lost money, well, then they never like hearing about that. They don't really care if you lose money. They love hearing when you make it. And so if you do have a situation where you are making an exchange between two different cryptocurrencies and you are in the profit, technically a taxable event occurred, in which case the United States government would say that you sold. In all honesty, if we were to look at it from a logical standpoint, nothing essentially occurred. You changed between two different cryptocurrencies, which the US government continues to view as not being a legitimate asset. And so, according to their own rules, you didn't do anything. And so, of course, we are waiting for the legalese to catch up with it. But when it comes down to it, AHT, technically you did nothing because our governments don't recognize these cryptocurrencies as currencies. But when you go and you actually swap between two cryptos on an exchange, say you go to Coinbase and you swap from Ethereum to Bitcoin, in all honesty, I guess that's really a matter of perspective. Did you sell or did you swap or did you buy? It's kind of a hard question to answer in certain regards, AHD. From a taxable standpoint, I know what the government thinks. From my standpoint and a legal and a logical standpoint, I don't really see that as anything different. That's apples to oranges. Would anybody say that you sold something if you traded an apple for an orange? They'd say you traded. You traded an apple. You got an orange. AHD, confusing? Absolutely. I believe that is entirely the purpose of the way that the legal system regarding cryptocurrency works at the moment. It's designed to be confusing. If you really just want to break it down, AHD, don't view it as a sale. If you really want to think about it, view it as apples and oranges. You are trading apples. They have oranges. You want oranges. Think about it that way the entire time, and it makes it very simple. Then all you have to think through is how much is an apple worth right now and how much is an orange worth right now. AKA, for my apple, how many oranges do I expect? And that makes it a whole lot simpler. I see the link tree. Thanks. Just having issues. Zoom. It said, no, I completely get that, Tim. I'm really glad that you were able to jump in today. But so, guys, we are going to jump into the news real quick so that we can get over for our field trip. And so, for everyone that has been looking at the markets to date, of course, we are seeing the recovery occurring in terms of it. And so we were well above 70K just a matter of 30 minutes ago when this stream started. Of course, when you look at the volatility of cryptocurrency, we have managed to go right back down and drop below 70K. But we are seeing a recovery in terms of the most recent flash crash. And so universally, we're seeing certain cryptocurrency having massive gains. Definitely a congratulations to anyone that was an owner of Toncoin over the past couple of days. But if we look at our mainstays and keep in mind, the most important thing is the price of Bitcoin. And there is a caveat there, because when we do enter into a true altcoin season, what you'll see is the price of Bitcoin stagnate. Right now, what we're continuing to see is a lot of Bitcoin volatility. And so I think we're still kind of in that adventure period. We're still trying to figure out where the market truly believes Bitcoin and Ethereum should be at on account of the halvening and on account of the Ethereum upgrades. But needless to say, for those that were very, very worried about their wallets just a few days ago, I bet you're feeling a lot better about your investments today, just because the market has provided in that sense. And so now that we have checked that one out, of course, we will go over to the Cointelegraph article. Bitcoin's price reclaims 70K as Coinbase Bitcoin supply hits a 9-year low. And so, guys, 9-year low Bitcoin supply. Why does this matter? Why does a reduced Bitcoin supply on a centralized exchange matter? And the reason is something where it's very simple when you think about it, because keep in mind what I have been going through and trying to really hammer down. If you don't have your cryptocurrency on your wallet, on a hardware wallet, it's not yours. It's not yours, not your keys, not your crypto. And so these people that are very, very big in the industry, the people that hold a ton of Bitcoin, what do? They keep their Bitcoin on their hardware wallet. And so if they have their Bitcoin on a centralized exchange, it's because they plan on selling it. And that's why the statistic is so important. This statistic is probably the most bullish statistic you could possibly view that I have seen in the past couple of months. There is nothing more bullish than Coinbase hitting a 9-year low on the amount of Bitcoin on exchange. That means that people that hold Bitcoin have taken it off the exchange. They said, no, I'm not planning on selling. I have no intention of selling. And so they took it off of a centralized exchange and they took it over to their hardware wallet. That means that we are seeing in the past 9 years, we have never had a point where Bitcoin had as few amount of coins on the Coinbase exchange. That is very, very bullish. And that's definitely an exciting statistic, because that is an indication that U.S. investors and institutional investors in the United States do not believe Bitcoin's anywhere close to stopping. If they believed that the price of Bitcoin was about to slow down or was about to reverse and head south, they would have their Bitcoin on the exchange ready to click the button. But they don't. That means they're not even considering the idea of needing to sell. And as we know, the rest of the cryptocurrency market follows the price of Bitcoin. And so this in and of itself is probably the most bullish news that I could possibly find anywhere in any form or fashion. And so now we're going to jump over to Robert Kiyosaki. And so Robert Kiyosaki predicts $100,000 Bitcoin by September. And so for all of those that are a big fan of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, as I am, I read the book Compliments of My Father at a pretty young age. Robert Kiyosaki is making a pretty bold assumption there. 100K Bitcoin by September. And he had even more to share, actually, on the matter. As Robert Kiyosaki has actually come out and recommended that everyone buys 1/10 of a Bitcoin. And he is backing up Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor is the CEO and owner of MicroStrategies. MicroStrategies is the largest corporate holder of Bitcoin on the planet. They hold billions and billions of dollars of Bitcoin. And so Robert Kiyosaki is jumping in behind him and saying, yep, Saylor's right. MicroStrategies is right. Kathy Wood is right. Everybody should be holding at least a certain portion of it. And so I thought that was particularly interesting. Keep in mind, of course, that is Robert Kiyosaki's opinion on how much you should own, not my own. But thought that one was very, very intriguing information. So HK says, sir, if say my brother has a ledger and I do, can I send him XRP as a gift? Absolutely. HK, absolutely. And so all you would do in that situation, HK, is you would actually come right over here, and what you would tell him is you would say that you want him to go to his XRP wallet, and you would like him to click receive. And the second that you get the wallet password, which I don't have my wallet currently plugged in, HK, but if I did have my wallet plugged in, it would pop up right here. As soon as he gets that wallet address, all you need him to do is send you that wallet address. As soon as you have his receiving wallet address. And so in this case, your brother clicks on receive, clicks continue, and has his ledger connected. You would then be able to see his wallet address. You copy and paste that into your send function, and you send him the XRP that you want to. No problem at all. I think it might cost you half a penny because it's XRP. And so there would be zero issue there, HK. You can definitely do that one. Nancy SCL, and you will be letting us know how to move crypto from Stellar to a cold wallet, right? XRP per se. I will be, Nancy, and I have done a bit of a deep dive on what the issue was there. And that is going to be a bit of an interesting one. In regards to it, when you made your purchases on Lobster, you did not actually purchase XRP. You purchased XRP mirrored onto the Stellar Exchange. And so I know that all sounds very, very confusing right off the bat. Don't worry, Nancy. I am putting together a video for later this week talking about just that, because I have heard quite a few people have an issue with it, and I have got some solutions. So definitely look forward to that one, Nancy. Until then, though, do not try to take your XRP off of the Lobster wallet. It will not work. It will not work right now. HKY. So cool, no taxes, right? So that one comes down to the same idea as the amount we're allowed to gift someone per year. Remember, we're allowed about $10,000 in gifts per year we're allowed to give. Technically, HK, it would have been a gift. And so if you choose to report it on your taxes, do please keep that in mind, that it will be a matter of the amount that you have gifted per year. Nancy, I was there for your explanation. Bless you. No, absolutely, Nancy. Then we will. We will jump onto that one, because I have figured out what I believe to be the best way. It is not pretty, and I don't think people are going to love it, but I have figured out what I strongly would advise to be the best way, and that video is being produced at the moment. So definitely look forward to that one. Hey, howdy, George. Super glad to have you join. Let's jump back over, though, guys, real quick and continue with our news, because I do want to get in to the metaverse for a little while with everyone and let folks see what the Decentraland metaverse looks like. So as we continue, Arkham Intelligence, this is AI Intelligence, has predicted that Grayscale's GBTC, and so that is the ETF. Remember, guys, we were looking at that one on Friday. We were looking at that one on Wednesday. The #1 seller of Bitcoin and Ethereum over the past couple of weeks has been the Grayscale ETF fund. And so at the current rate, Arkham Intelligence is predicting that they will actually run out entirely of Bitcoin in 96 days if they maintain their current sales projection. And so I'm expecting Grayscale to stop selling very, very soon. I think they've taken their profits. I would imagine they're about to halt. It doesn't make any sense to continue at this point. I'm not quite certain what their game was. I think Grayscale was hoping that more of the ETF holders, more of the financial investors would back them up and try to create a larger dip. I think Grayscale thought they could potentially buy in at a lower price if they went ahead and attempted to jump on the market as hard as they have. And I believe they seemingly have failed. And so hopefully they lost money. Unfortunately, it's Grayscale. They rarely do, but we can all hope. We can all hope. Oh, and so actually going over to the story that we had covered, I believe about a week and a half ago. Nigeria charges Binance with tax evasion after one of the detained executives escaped the country. And so one of the two senior Binance executives held in government custody in Nigeria has escaped, local media reported over the weekend. And so Nigeria's tax authority has charged Binance with tax evasion. Of course, they've got to find a scapegoat for their own irresponsible monetary policy. And so it's much easier to blame cryptocurrency, much easier to blame Binance, make them into the big bad guy. But what is particularly funny here is that, keep in mind, guys, that last week I told you that an ex-IRS officer was currently being held by Binance. Well, an ex-IRS officer is still being held by Binance because the one guy that managed to escape, Nadeem Anharwala, who happens to be in charge of Binance's business inside of Africa, managed to somehow escape Nigerian custody. And so Nigeria is now attempting to work with Interpol in order to secure an international arrest for Anharwala, who is the company's regional manager for Africa, citing the president's advisor on national security. And so this one is absolutely ridiculous, as the story was last week when we were looking at the fact that Nigeria is attempting to blame cryptocurrency for their own rampant inflation. That's not how currency works, Nigeria. If your currency is rapidly inflating, it is because you are printing too much of it. There is no value to back up the new dollars. It is not the fault of cryptocurrency. It is not gold's fault. It is not silver's fault. It is not a company's fault. It is the government's fault. And so any government sitting out there and claiming that any cryptocurrency, any corporation is causing massive inflation and causing massive currency issues is lying. They're liars. They are attempting to push the blame upon someone else. And Nigeria, in this case, is beyond trying to achieve a scapegoat, because that is absolutely ridiculous. And I am quite interested to hear how Mr. Anharwala managed to sneak out of a Nigerian prison without anyone noticing. I assume that's going to be a hilarious story when they do give us the details. Overcoming Victory says Zester gift per year now is $18,000 per person per year for 2024. Did research recently. Oh, nice. Overcoming Victory. I'd say it's keeping up with inflation, but unfortunately, that's kind of a sad thing to say. But that is good news. And so in that case, I would go back to it and say, assuming you have not given more than $18,000 of Bitcoin over to a friend, then you should be beyond good. The only issue you would have is if you give someone Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency and they give you cash for it. That, according to our government, is a crime. And so if you have got Bitcoin or you have got a cryptocurrency and your friend says, hey, I would love to buy $100 of crypto off of you, technically, our government says that you are committing a crime. Are you committing a crime? Of course not. That's not anywhere close to a crime. There is no victim. And if there is no victim, there is no crime. And so is it ridiculous? Absolutely. But I would give you a heads up that if you hold cryptocurrency and someone offers you cash for it, technically you are committing a crime if you make that sale and do not immediately notify the proper authorities. The original Mark Z, this guy looks familiar. What are you doing inside of here? What are you doing inside of here? The trolls have showed up. The trolls have showed up. No, what's up, Pops? Glad that you could stop in for a second. Actually, while you are here, real quick, what do you think? What do you think? Robert Kiyosaki predicts 100K Bitcoin by September, and Robert Kiyosaki recommends buying 1/10 of a Bitcoin. Backs Michael Saylor. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say on the evening news about that one there, Pops, because that is, I mean, not only is he a serious voice inside of, well, the fiscally conservative demographic, but also a huge precious metal guy. And so I think that one would be a lot of fun. Wondering what you have to say on that one, Pops. I'll make certain to listen in on the evening news, that, or I'll harass you before it to see what your opinion is on Robert Kiyosaki telling everyone that they need to have at least 1/10 for Bitcoin. But as we continue, we do. Of course, Bitcoin has pumped back over 70K. While we have been live, though, we have watched Bitcoin we've dropped below, we've jumped back above, we're going back and forth. And so these stories are kind of just giving us a heads up of what's occurring currently, but we are seeing a massive pump back up after our correction. And so El Salvador, for those who are not aware, El Salvador became the first country to ever properly recognize Bitcoin as a currency and to mandate that all businesses accept Bitcoin. And so El Salvador went from the crime capital of Central and South America to now on an entirely different pathway. And it's because they have both been led by, I suppose, a bit of an authoritarian, but a compassionate authoritarian, in all honesty, who has looked at the situation and said what is genuinely best for the people of El Salvador. And so rather than continuing to protect his failing central bank currency, he went ahead and he told every single business in the entire country of El Salvador, you have got to accept Bitcoin. You have to accept cryptocurrency. And he has turned around the financial futures of an entire country. There are now, in regards to MS-13, which originated in the general area, and other gangs that have been plaguing not only the United States, but all of Central and South America, he has led a giant crackdown in terms of getting crime off of the streets. El Salvador is on a path to becoming a country that no one would have expected 10 years ago. And really where it all started at was the point where the decision to drop the central bank currency, to drop the US dollar as the petrodollar, and to move towards cryptocurrency has made a huge difference in the country. And so this will be, along with all the rest of the links, inside of the Discord, today's links. And so for anyone that does want to check all these things out, please do jump over to the Discord, and you will be able to see absolutely everything that there is to see in regards to what I talk about each day. And so this one all goes back to the very beginning. And so I will read this excerpt real quick. In a series of strategic moves that underline its commitment to cryptocurrency, El Salvador continues to deepen its engagement with the digital currency market, particularly with Bitcoin. President Nayib Bukele recently announced El Salvador's plan to buy one Bitcoin every day, aiming to continue this practice until it becomes unaffordable with fiat currencies. This initiative has pushed the nation's Bitcoin holdings to a substantial total of 5,690 Bitcoin, valued at approximately $400 million. And so when it comes down to it, El Salvador potentially is the only country that's actually thinking straight. We have seen very, very few countries that are actually aware of what is occurring in terms of global finance. For some reason, El Salvador happens to be the only one. And it really does all come down to President Nayib. He is not only extremely young, but a visionary in terms of what the future of finance is going to look like. And in a situation like El Salvador's, not only did he make the best choice for the government, he made the best choice for the people of El Salvador. And so I have an immense amount of respect for the man and for his ability to really risk it for the biscuit, because this is not popular when it comes down to it. The global community ridiculed El Salvador when they made this move, said that it would be an absolute joke. Their currency would go into nothing, and we would be looking at a failed state in a matter of a year. And now we are seeing El Salvador on the best pathway that it has been since the founding of the country. And it was all on account of making a very, very simple change. Rather than continuing to use currencies that have no value, we're going to utilize a currency that is globally valuable. And so he is using it more as a backing to the currency of the country. He's using Bitcoin to back up the country's finances. It is a crazy thing to watch. All right, continuing though, London Stock Exchange is planning to list Bitcoin and Ethereum ETNs starting in May. And so now we are seeing the glorious Great Britain joining in with their stock exchange on the institutional side. Of course, because we are looking at a different market to get today. For those that had seen when I utilized crypto quant before, we are seeing a very, very different outlook from the crypto quant overview. We are seeing massive investment from U.S. investors. Exchange reserves are massively decreasing. This is a good thing if you want the price to go up. And so we are seeing a confluence of events that seem particularly positive. But now we are going to jump into it, guys, and we are going to take a quick adventure into the metaverse. And so for all those that have gotten their permission slip signed, now is the time. We are going to check out the Decentraland metaverse. And so I have not actually logged in or utilized it in years. And so we're going to most likely be making our own little first character and then dropping into the world. And so, guys, this will be a little bit different. We are going to be looking at a weird little space. But let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of an explanation of what Decentraland is. And so Decentraland, of course, which goes underneath the ticker of Mana, Mana, M-A-N-A, is a metaverse cryptocurrency. And so Mana is actually the currency of this world, of this metaverse. And so you utilize your Mana in order to buy property, to buy outfits, to buy rides, or to go gambling in the casino. You then utilize your Mana. And so it is a metaverse play. It is, to my knowledge, the oldest successful metaverse cryptocurrency. And it is inhabited by a multitude of different people and corporations that have purchased land inside of it, which in and of itself is a particularly interesting concept. Because inside of the world of Decentraland, we have got an entire ecosystem of people that are all creating that are purchasing properties, that are selling properties, that are going to concerts, they're playing games that have been built by people inside the world. All of this is being done with a login, or essentially with all of the information being backed up on the blockchain. And so when you actually go to try to log in to Decentraland, what you will do is you will actually go through and log in with a cryptocurrency wallet. And so we're going to do that real quick. We're going to log in with our wallet to Decentraland. And so here we are. We're ready to create a character inside of the metaverse. And so for all of those that have been confused about what the metaverse is, now is the opportunity to check it out and see a little bit about what they're talking about. And so we're going to try to click randomize until we get it. How about this guy? He looks like me, right? All right, maybe not so much. But needless to say, we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue with him. And so he's going to be our character. And let's see if Zester is allowed. And, oh my gosh, it was. And so we're going to go ahead and jump into Decentraland, the first metaverse. And so in and of itself, guys, this is a bit of a journey. We are going off the beaten path today. And I thought this would be a particularly fun thing for everyone to see, because it is. It's something, it's a term we've heard about a ton of times. You've all heard the metaverse. You all know that Facebook's parent company has turned into Meta, as they planned on joining this world of the metaverse. And so now we can see, guys, we have jumped into the metaverse. And so nice to meet you, sister. Hashtag FED6. My name is Alice. I'm here to teach you some Decentraland basics. Press E to start. All right. All right. We switched the camera view. We're not really all that concerned about all of this. So we're just going to keep jumping along because we want to go ahead and actually get into the world. So, yep. I see. And so we are going to go ahead and actually quit the tutorial, hopefully, and get to jump in to the metaverse itself so that we can see everything that is being built and what they mean when they say the metaverse is out there. And so for all of those that are currently watching the screen, does this not look absolutely ridiculous? This was something that was built with graphics from a different. So yeah, let's go to the main scene. And so all of these different things that are actually inside of here, guys, are different. Yes, Kukla, it does look like a video game. It does look like a video game because it essentially is. It essentially is. And so this is just the beginning, HK. Give me 1 second because we're both learning together how to get around the metaverse. Bear, it is absolutely confusing. It is absolutely confusing. I would completely agree. Completely agree. But we're trying to find our way into the main world. Soul Magic Arcana. I don't know what this is, but it is very much like a video game. And this is what actually raised hundreds of millions of dollars. And so for those that are curious about that one, in regards to what this entire company actually ended up bringing in, Decentraland is currently valued at $1.2 billion is the current valuation of Decentraland. And it has been far higher in the past. Mana, the cryptocurrency of Decentraland, has been as high as $5.85. That was back in 2021. And at its lowest back in 2017, it was a matter of $0.009 dollars. back then. So it was actually right underneath the value of 1 penny. When it originally launched, it reached $5.85 about 2 years ago. It is currently sitting at 67 cents, and that is where it currently lies. It has got property that is owned and purchased by Atari. Mark Cuban owns property inside of Decentraland. A multitude of different major corporations, companies, and wealthy people all own land inside of this absurd world. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to try to get our volume actually turned off, because I believe that that is messing with our audio. And so currently learning as we go here, guys. I jumped in with this one kind of as a fun end to the stream today. And so we are learning as we go, but I figured it would be something kind of fun for everyone to jump into and just see what it's all about. But right now we're trying to figure out how we get our volume turned off. And so I do have a backup plan. I can just turn off the volume on the whole computer. But so welcome to MetaWeave, land of the free. And so all of these things, guys, are created by people. They're not created by a company that is in charge of it. A company could purchase the land and decide to build it, but this is being built by some guys known as metaweave.xyz. And I'm not quite certain what they're building back here, but apparently they have plans. Apparently they have plans. But regardless, we're going to try and actually get out of here. We would like to go to the official Decentraland world, but unfortunately, we don't even really know where that is. But we know M Social. What does that mean? All right, the door opened for us. Mafia the game. Click to participate. All right, I believe we're going to play Mafia the game. I'm not quite certain what that is. You were added to the Mafia the game's queue. This game will start when at least 4 players connect. Okay, so we can continue on with what we're doing because we're waiting to see if anyone else wants to play Mafia the game with us. All right, though. All right. What is going on? And so we actually have here, and so this is a very, very common thing inside of the Metaverse. What they'll sell are NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And those are things that you can actually view inside of the world and put inside of the house that you build inside of the Metaverse. And so wait a second, though. I think HK has an idea, though. Try the movie theater exit. All right. The movie theater? I don't know. Is this a movie theater? No, that looks like an art gallery. That looks like an art gallery. We have some for sale property. Somebody is currently selling this. Keep in mind, guys, this is real world money. This Mana cryptocurrency is very, very much real world. And so I can contact Sentien5377 on Discord if I'd like to purchase his totem pole, I guess that is. A totem pole. We have Netminer, a company that owns real estate inside of here. And so we can see they've got some art on the wall. Burn down to rise up. No NFT available. And so as you can see, guys, this is the supposed metaverse that everyone is interested. All right, well, we can see we've got a sign. We've got for rent, lease, construction, or decoration. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a bold assumption that is a Cyrillic language. I'm going to go ahead and assume Russian. But of course, would not be able to absolutely guarantee on that one. But you can see that, people are here. They are advertising things. You can go to @MetaverseMen, or you can join their Telegram group directly inside of the game. And so, guys, this is like you purchase a plot of land, and then you own it. And then you are capable of doing what you so choose with it. Whether you want to build a house, or you want to put that up there, or you would like to show off your NFT of whatever that is. In and of itself, guys, the metaverse is kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous. But it also, for some reason, a lot of very, very wealthy people and corporations love to throw money at this. I'm not quite certain why, because I don't really see the viability, at least in the way that it is today, and anybody wanting to own land here. But what we will do is actually show people a little bit about what that ends up being. And so this is where you would actually come to purchase things inside of this world. And so keep in mind, we're over here, we're inside of this world. We have found something that we want to own. So say I want to own, let's go back over to where we saw the guy selling something over here. So say I wanted to own this totem pole. I want that. I don't know why, but I want it. What I would be able to actually do is actually come over here and purchase it. And so if you actually look at the maps in terms of Decentraland, each of the different little blocks is partitioned off, and you have the ability to own it. Now, what are you going to do with it? I'm not certain. But as you can see, people are actually here selling their properties. And so we've got this guy in the Omega District, and he's trying to sell his little property right there. And his description is that it's on a highly visible corner near Genesis Plaza. And so he provided the information. And then I have the ability to actually jump in with my character and see his property and see if I'm interested in purchasing his property or placing a bid upon it. Oh, Kukla, thank you so much for tuning in. And yes, next podcast will be at Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Nancy, why would someone want to buy property in here? That in and of itself is a great question. The vast majority of companies and people that have been purchasing property inside of the metaverse have been doing so because they strongly believe that in the near future, it will be an opportunity for them to sell their wares in a digital space. So there are companies that have made purchases of property in order to advertise. Atari, actually. So for those that remember Atari, Pong, and the games of the same ilk that came from the days of Atari being the major game company, Atari is actually building a casino inside of Decentraland. And so Atari's plan is to make a bunch of games, and you can go in and you can gamble with them. And so as you can see, though, guys, it is a odd place. And so we have Club Amaran. Someone somebody made this. I don't know why, but they decided. So you can actually see that they have real world assets going. They are allowing you to view different events. I'm guessing that DJ Track is the owner of our so I'm guessing that this guy is here, but as you can see, he has NFTs actually for sale inside of here. And so you're able to come in, look around his house inside of the metaverse, and then decide if you wanted to make a purchase of some of his different artwork, which, yeah, of course. Of course, guys, keep in mind, this is a field trip. Whenever you go on a field trip in school to the zoo, it did not mean that your teacher was suggesting you purchase a lion in order to have it home. This is truly a matter of just viewing something that I just imagine that the vast majority of people that were watching the show had never seen the true insanity of. And so I can come here and make a purchase of this artwork known as Playing in the Forest. And so I can look at the artwork, see that it's very intriguing, and I can actually make a purchase inside of the game of the artwork provided by this guy. We have something going on here. I'm not really certain. I don't know what that means. No, I guess we're not going to trust it then. But in and of itself, this is something absolutely ridiculous that exists in the world and that millions of dollars has been spent on. Millions and millions and millions of dollars. People have paid over $1 million for a single piece of property inside of this world. People have paid over $1 million for a single piece of property inside of this world. That is absurd. So Mile High Trish. So if you gamble at the Atari Casino and make money, will it be taxable? I'm certain the IRS would view it that way, Trish. I'm certain that the IRS would view it that way. HK Atari is old school for sure. Commodore 64 too. Times have certainly changed. They have. And some of these companies somehow have managed to hold on. And it just so happens that Atari is one of them. Nancy, someone should probably buy property to set up a psychiatrist practice for all the inhabitants of the metaverse. That is probably the best idea possible. Go ahead and open up a mental hospital inside of the metaverse. Go ahead and make the purchase. I think that's an investment that will pay off in the long term. That was too funny, Nancy. Too funny. George Scott, Decentraland is pretty wild. I may have to get a small investment eventually. It is. It is an interesting one. It is an interesting one. Totally get that, Grumpy. I'm going to be running to do the same soon, but we are going to make a purchase of a small amount of mana or Decentraland on Coinbase before we do in the stream. And so now that we've kind of showed you guys what the general idea of the metaverse is, we're going to make a small purchase of mana just so everyone sees it happen. And the reason that we're doing that is because of exactly this, HK. That's so crazy. Millions. Yes. Millions of dollars. The company is valued at over $1.2 billion. The cryptocurrency itself is currently sitting at 67 cents when its all-time high is over $5.85. $5.85 is what it was trading at just 2 years ago. And so right now, 67 cents is seeming like a little bit of a bargain. And so, of course, not financial advice, but we're going to grab just a tiny little bit from Coinbase to include it inside of the community portfolio because people in the community did suggest it during the community portfolio live stream. And so we're going to actually go over and make our small purchase of a little bit of mana so that I guess our guy living here in the empty metaverse where no one appears to live here will have some friends, or at least he'll have money. Maybe he can buy friends. But there is so much going on here, guys. So much, and no one uses it. The metaverse is empty. It's empty. People invest in the token that represents the cryptocurrency, but they never buy. They never actually play the game. No one is ever inside of Decentraland, but it's worth $1.2 billion. But no one uses it. In and of itself, there's a lot of funniness going on here, but we're going to participate in that funniness. And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually purchase a small amount of mana. And so I'm going to go ahead and actually refresh my Coinbase just because I'm not certain after it's sitting here for a while. And we are going to make a very, very small purchase of mana. And so in order to do this, guys, I would like to actually give a slight little tip here for those that have been confused about how some of these things work on the Coinbase exchange. And so, of course, we have got the Mana Ethereum liquidity pool that we're looking at. And we actually have the ability right over here, guys, right next to the little letter, you'll see a little arrow in each direction. And this will change it to where we are in a denomination of mana. And so what I would actually like to purchase is 50 mana. And so I go ahead and type 50 in. Keep in mind, we're making a market order. So that means it's going to fill immediately because we're just going to take whatever the best price is. And so we're going to go ahead and we're actually going to fill that. And so remember, mana is about 67 cents. So we're spending somewhere around, I'm going to guess, $36.84. And so we're going to go ahead and make that purchase. And so actually down here, you'll see that our order has filled and we have received 49.97 mana. And we received that at a total of 0.0093678 Ethereum, which we can actually go ahead and come over here and verify just how much that was. And so if you actually come over here, guys, if you ever are curious on these, you can come in to CoinGecko and you can actually just paste in whatever amount of Ethereum. And so we bought $33.87 of mana. And so this mana is going to be going into the community pool, and that's where it's going to stay. And so we will have a little bit of the cryptocurrency of the metaverse inside of the Crazy Kryptonaut community portfolio. At some point, we'll find something cool to do with this. But until then, we have managed to acquire 49.97 mana for the community. And so this is going to be one that we're just going to be keeping up with. In no way am I endorsing mana. I'm just saying it is the oldest metaverse cryptocurrency. It's the oldest. It is technically the flag bearer of the metaverse space inside of crypto and blockchain technology. And so we now own a small portion of it. We've got our 49.97 mana, cost us $33 out of the community portfolio. And so at that point, though, guys, that is what I was planning on going through today. There is so much more that we could jump into and try to go in regards to the metaverse. But in all honesty, there's no one here. It's empty. It's empty. This is a world that is worth $1.2 billion that no one uses. But you know what? If I were a gambling man, I bet in the next couple of months, the price of mana goes up. That is a bet, of course, not financial advice, but that is why we got a little bit. We are absolutely going off of the fact that in the past cycles, mana has done very well. And so we're going to make an assumption with the community portfolio that it's going to do that again. Of course, we could end up being incorrect. And that's why we didn't buy a lot. Rexy, Zester, do you think in the future people will use this to advertise their business? Rexy, I do believe that at some point there will be a more advanced metaverse that exists. And so for anyone that has ever watched the movie Ready Player One, I'm not certain if anyone out there that's currently watching has ever seen that movie. I know it was a bit of a hit when it came out, but it was also kind of in a niche. But if you've ever seen Ready Player One, that's the metaverse. That is what it will end up being. It will end up being where a person will put on goggles, they'll put on their VR headset, and they will enter into a world that is as real as the world we live in today. And that is both a horrifying prospect and also an extremely inspiring prospect. Think about the people who aren't capable of doing some of these things. Think about the ability to run when you're 100. Think about the ability to skydive no matter what. Think about the ability to do things in a world that you would never be capable of doing in the real world. The metaverse will provide that. The metaverse will provide people with the ability to do things that you can't do in real life. And so that is something where right now it looks like this. Right now it looks like this. And it's a joke. You know, it's a joke right now. It really is. It's a joke. I mean, is it kind of cool in a weird sense? I mean, I guess. But it's a joke. In a matter of a very short amount of years, we are going to see this metaverse go from this blocky or weird looking world to something that is indistinguishable from reality. And personally, I would expect that indistinguishable from reality to be in a matter of 10 to 15 years. If we were to look at the way things are going, I'm probably being conservative. I always am. So I'm probably counting on it taking more years than it really will. But I would say in a matter of 10 to 15 years, we will see a metaverse that is so realistic that when you put on the goggles, you will not know. You will not know. It will seem real. According to your brain, it already does with virtual reality. I don't know who in the community has had an opportunity to utilize some of the new age virtual reality headsets. It is almost indistinguishable from reality. You can't tell once you put it on. And your brain is so confused by it that it believes that what the headset is telling it is true. And so that is something that in the future, I think will be a reality. I do not believe that it will specifically be Decentraland, but I do think that the community portfolio should have some mana. And so we have some now. We've got our metaverse play in hand. And so, oh, Nancy, what a fun and engaging show tonight, sister. Thank you so much, Nancy, for tuning in. David, oh, thank you as always. And so today it was not exactly a full class just because we were going on a bit of a field trip, but the news and everything else kind of were really the blockbuster of the night. Those were the big things that I wanted to cover because we're looking at the market rebounding. And so I'm expecting that most people are feeling a lot better about their cryptos. Donna Thompson. So did your mana purchase get you a place in the metaverse? Actually, Donna, it did not. I now have a cryptocurrency that I could use to purchase property. And so that is how you actually make the purchase of everything inside of the world, Donna. You have to have mana to buy things inside of the metaverse. And so I would need $10,000 of mana in order to buy property. All I am is I have money in my pocket inside of this make-believe world. That is really all I did. I have money in my pocket. I do not have a lot of money, Donna, but I technically could walk around and maybe find something that I could afford inside of the world. But I definitely could not afford anything like that. And so, I mean, these are the type of crazy things that are being built. See the spaceship coming in and everything else. I couldn't afford that with my $32 of mana. But these are what's being done. It's a crazy, crazy world that is being created that is entirely inside of a computer. And I would not be surprised to see a lot of human beings living inside of this world and not that long of a time. Is that a future that I foresee myself ever living in? Absolutely not. But I have learned that it is much wiser to listen to the people that seem to have the ear of the youth and the ear of the innovators than it is to make my own decisions about what I believe is going to be successful. When it comes down to it, sometimes you're better off listening to the people who are interested in the space. And so in this case, when it comes to Mana and Decentraland, I listen to the people that know more than me. And so there are people who truly, truly believe in the metaverse. They think it's going to be the next huge thing. They think it is the future, and they're investing heavily in it. And so I look at it in the same way as I would purchase a stock of something that I don't personally purchase. You know, I would have no problem purchasing stock in John Deere because John Deere is a company that's going in the right direction. But I don't own a John Deere. I don't run like a deer. I don't have a John Deere. Matter of fact, I wouldn't buy a John Deere if I were buying a lawnmower. I wouldn't buy a John Deere, but I would buy John Deere stock because I believe that it's a good investment. So that's the difference that you kind of have to make here, is that you have to look at this as a matter of logic, not a matter of me. Me personally, I'm never living in this metaverse, but other people want to. And so I have to make my decisions based off of what they want, not what I want. And so it's that same logic can be thrown all throughout the financial space. You know, when it comes down to it, there are a million people that own companies, own businesses, run restaurants, and they would never eat at their own restaurant. You know, it's a tale as old as time. Sometimes you're just the guy selling it. You just work there. It doesn't mean that you personally endorse it or it's what you would buy. And so that's the way that I look at it. Overcoming victory. And so I am going to be going ahead and thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I enjoyed the field trip as well. I know that it's a weird one. I really wasn't certain how everybody would feel about it. It's such a weird little disjointed world, but it allows you to see how a wallet, your cryptocurrency wallet, can be used to do things that you really wouldn't imagine at first. So your cryptocurrency wallet allowed you to log into this video game. I didn't sign up. Decentraland doesn't know my name, doesn't know where I live, doesn't know anything about me. I had a MetaMask wallet, and I was allowed to sign into the metaverse. That is a future where we're able to sign in to utilize platforms without giving up our identity. And it is particularly interesting to see what people are willing to spend this type of money in. And so all right, on that one, Overcoming Victory says, thanks, Zester. Looking forward to info on workaround for XRP. Just because where I am, I cannot buy, sell anymore XRP. Overcoming Victory. So you're on Lobster. Do not worry, Overcoming Victory. That is one of the videos of the week, one of the lessons, the recorded lessons of the week that will be coming out, because I have heard far too many people that are having the same issue, and I'm also quite upset with Lobster for the reason that that problem exists. And so expect that video to come out very shortly, and also expect me to have a few negative words to say about Lobster and other cryptocurrency companies that are doing the same thing, because essentially what they've done is they have made it extremely easy for you to give them your money. You can give them your money super easy. What they're not willing to do is give you your money back. And I hate when companies do that. I hate when companies do that. That is not the way that you provide a service. You provide a service by providing something that people actually are willing to pay for. You do not provide a service by providing half of a service and then stopping everything. I mean, essentially what Lobster has done is they have said, hey, we will sell you tires. We'll sell you new tires for your car. But the instructions are in Chinese. Here you go. And they're not willing to put them on your car. They just gave you 4 tires and they said, figure it out. And they didn't tell you the right tire pressure. They didn't tell you the rim size. They didn't tell you anything. They just sold you 4 pieces of rubber and they said, figure it out. Here's an instruction manual in Chinese. And that's kind of how I feel about what Lobster and some of these platforms have done to people. And so we are definitely going to jump into that one. Definitely going to jump into that one. Overcoming victory, no on Coinbase, but I'm in New York. Oh, I get that. You're one of the few there overcoming victory. Well, not one of the few. There are a lot of people that live in New York, but you are one of the states that does have a lot of extra issues. Maybe I will make just a New Yorker. I'll make a New York and a California video just for how to get onto exchanges on those. Sunrise, that would be a bait and switch. Bitcoin was that way. At times it was. A lot of times exchanges did not tell you what they were selling you, and they took advantage of people, and I do not agree with nor condone it. And that's why the Crazy Kryptonite exists, is because we're going to try and stop this from happening. It just takes learning one thing at a time, and these companies can't trick you anymore. And you teach one more person, and before you know it, we've actually created a systemic change in terms of the way these companies treat us. And that same way that we look at the way these companies treat us is going to be the same way that we can make certain that our governments treat us properly. And so thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, Sunrise and Rexy and Overcoming Victory and David and HK and Vicky and Donna and Petrichor and Trish. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Expect a video coming out tomorrow night. And then, of course, expect the live stream on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be going through and doing more work on our community portfolio. And we're also going to be talking about the lessons and classes that are coming out. So I want to make certain that after I put out a video, that I also have a live stream so that people can ask any questions of anything that may have come up during it. And so on Wednesday, we're going to be going through the news. We're going to be going through the community portfolio, and we're going to be doing a question and answer for anything that came out in regards to the tutorial. So thank you guys so much. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, and I'm going to go over and watch the original Mark Z at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so if anybody is joining me over there, I will see you in the chat room. So peace, y'all.